The forced conversions in India have been rising for over 20 years now. The Hindu nationalists hunt down Christians and force them to convert to Hindu to make India a Hindu state. Some non-Muslims, especially Hindus, say that Muslims force non-Muslims to convert to Islam. If this were true, then there would not even be a single Hindu living on the place called Earth, because Muslims ruled India for over 1,000 years. Only 15% of the Muslim rulers ruled on them. Today, it is also just 15% Muslims living in India whom Hindu nationalists dream to convert to Hindu, which is not possible because Muslims have a very strong history. It seems like it is part of the mission of Indian nationalists to make Greater India like Greater Israel. Well, let them work hard, and other lifers harder to live in their own state. Let's deep dive into the story today. Hey everyone, this is Cleofe again, your host at the Cleofe podcast. Let's listen to the deep dive on this journey. Please like and subscribe to this channel, as I know you all like it and want to tune in every day. That's the reason that we try to bring a deep dive on a daily basis. Hey Jack and Wilson, now it is all yours.
Okay, let's unpack this. Imagine a place where religious harmony, something once taken for granted, is now really fraught with tension. A place where just practicing your faith, something so fundamental, can come at this enormous, sometimes terrifying cost. That's the complex and, frankly, deeply concerning reality we're diving into today. We're looking at rising religious tensions, and specifically an alarming trend of forced conversions targeting Christians in India. Now, for this deep dive, we've drawn on two key sources. First, there's a really powerful documentary transcript from DW News that gives you a stark picture of what's happening on the ground. And second, a very insightful interview with a leading expert from the Evangelical Fellowship of India. Our goal here is for you to walk away really grasping the key dynamics, understanding these specific situations, and maybe having some aha moments, connecting the dots between these personal stories and the much larger systemic shifts happening. So let's start with a trend that's, let's start. The data shows a dramatic surge in violence against Christians in India. This rise has become particularly noticeable since 2014, which is when the Hindu Nationalist Party, the BJP, came to power nationally. The United Christian Forum paints a pretty sobering picture. There were reported over 800 attacks on Christians just last year. Think about this, nearly a seven-fold increase in only a decade. And among those most affected are members of India's Adivasi community. Many of them actually converted to Christianity generations ago, and now they're facing the brunt of this.
Right. And what's truly revealing here, I think, isn't just the sheer number of attacks, though that's alarming enough. It's what these numbers signify. If you step back and look at the bigger picture, this isn't just a series of random, isolated incidents. It really points towards a profound ideological shift happening within the country, a shift in how religious minorities are being perceived and treated. It feels systemic.
Yeah, systemic is a good word. And a lot of this violence, these focused efforts to, quote, undo conversions, seem concentrated in one area particularly, India's Buster region in Chhattisgarh state.
I apologize for interrupting the deep dive. Are you or someone you know struggling to land a job? Check out the ATS Resume Optimizer. I created this tool myself, and for just $5 a month, you get unlimited tailored resumes, mock interview prep, and a resume health score to boost your chances. Transform your job search today. Link in the description. Let's get back to the deep dive.
State. The reports from there show Hindu nationalist groups with a clear mission. They're actively patrolling remote villages. They're determined to reverse Christian conversions and, well, compel people back to Hinduism. Our sources tell the story of a man named Dori, a local Adivasi man. Years ago, he converted to Christianity after missionaries helped him when he was very, very sick. Vital help, apparently. But now, Dori says he's faced months of relentless pressure, harassment, social exclusion, all pushing him to abandon Christianity and return to what they insist is his original faith. And the justification these nationalist groups give. It's a powerful narrative they weave. They argue that if people convert to Christianity, their ancestral traditions, their gods, their land, everything will be ruined, their culture destroyed.
It's framed as cultural preservation, but through coercion.
Exactly. In Aduri's village, this pressure eventually leads to a public ceremony. Under the eyes of a local BJP leader, a Hindu priest performs a ritual, splashes Duri with sacred water, supposedly to purify him of sins. They call this a homecoming. And just like that, Duri is officially declared Hindu again, whether he wants it or not. His identity is redefined publicly.
And this specific case forces us to ask a really critical question, doesn't it? What does it actually mean for an individual when their deepest convictions, their faith, are challenged so publicly, when their identity is forcibly redefined against their will?
Yeah.
It's profound. And this isn't just about Dewey or one person's choice. It's clearly part of a wider organized crackdown. These groups apparently boast about having converted about a dozen Christian families just in the past month. So the scale, it's significant.
And the pressure, it goes way beyond these homecoming ceremonies. I mean, take Ramesh Baghi's story. It's genuinely heartbreaking. Ramesh is the son of a Christian pastor who passed away. When his father died, Ramesh tried to bury him in the village cemetery, where generations of his ancestors are buried. But he was blocked, not just by villagers, but by local authorities, too.
Blocked from burying his own father.
Yes. He appealed, he went to court. He even tried to bury his father on his own private land. Still blocked. He apparently pleaded, saying things like, "I beg you, please just give me some place to bury my father." But they refused. So today, Ramesh's father is buried 25 kilometers away from his ancestral home. It's such a fundamental denial of dignity.
It really is.
And Ramesh believes this is all happening because of this aggressive campaign to make India a purely Hindu nation. We also heard from a local pastor there, lighting the region's oldest church. He remembers a time when he said, "There used to be no fighting here, no sectarian tensions." But now, he says Christians are being made to feel that they don't have a right to live here, that they belong to a foreign religion, and that the Hindu right wing is just snatching away their rights. He says people live in fear.
That detail about being denied the burial, it really hits home, doesn't it? It shows this isn't just about belief systems. It's about belonging, about basic human rights and dignity. And looking at it from that wider perspective, the sources do suggest a clear and pretty disturbing link to the political environment. You have instances of Hindu priests openly visiting the state, urging chief ministers to close down churches. And the perception on the ground is that the BJP government isn't just turning a blind eye, but is actually supporting or at least enabling those pushing this ideology. Which, of course, creates an atmosphere where these kinds of exclusionary, sometimes violent actions feel permissible, even encouraged.
It fundamentally changes the social contract for minorities. So to really get a handle on the broader implications, the national picture, we looked at insights from Reverend Vijay Lal. He's the General Secretary of the Evangelical Fellowship of India, interviewed by DW News from Delhi. He was asked a very direct question. Are Christians actually free to practice their faith across India today?
And his answer was, well, it's not a simple yes or no. That's the reality. He explained that there are parts of India where, yes, there is absolute freedom. Christians can practice their faith without fear. But then there are these other significant regions where that freedom is severely restricted, particularly in states that have passed these controversial anti-conversion laws.
Right. Those laws seem key. Which states are we talking about mainly?
He mentioned Uttar Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, which is where the documentary was focused, but also Odisha, Jharkhand, Haryana, and Karnataka. These are places where those restrictions are felt very acutely.
Okay, so for a Christian living in one of those states, what does daily life actually look like? What's the lived reality on the ground?
He described it as attacks happening almost daily. It's become routine, sadly. The Evangelical Fellowship of India, his organization, they've been monitoring this since 1998. He mentioned they registered 5 separate attacks just the day before the interview, and another one that very morning.
5 in one day.
Yes. And in the same region the documentary covered, there's been a drastic shift. He recalled the late 90s when Christians were generally told, stay inside your churches, do whatever you want there. But now, that sanctuary doesn't exist anymore. He said, we are not even safe within the sanctity of our own homes. Things like birthday parties being attacked, a casual visit to a friend's house potentially ending with people being dragged to the police station.
Just for visiting a friend.
Apparently so. He said things are bad, and they seem to be getting progressively worse.
Reverend Lal clearly suggests this is more than just, local friction or isolated events. What does he see as the real driver behind this intense polarization, this growing violence across the country? What's at the root?
He was quite clear that the violence is symptomatic. It reflects a much deeper change happening within India. He said, quite bluntly, that India is no longer the India it was 20 years ago. It's changed, and in his view, not for the better. And behind this change, he identifies a very specific ideology, one that actively promotes treating religious minorities essentially as second-class citizens.
So the ideology is the engine here.
Precisely. He stated, Our persecution is a direct consequence of that particular ideology being politically empowered, gaining influence. Then he also talked about this whole bogey about conversion, this idea that huge numbers are converting to Christianity. He calls it a convenient excuse, maybe even fabricated, used by the Hindu right wing to target Christians.
But the numbers don't back that up.
No. He pointed out that official statistics just don't show any significant increase in the Christian percentage of the population. But these anti-conversion laws, based on this bogey, make life incredibly difficult. And they're being misused flagrantly in states like Uttar Pradesh and Chhattisgarh. The end result. Social and religious polarization has become so extreme that hatred, he says, has been normalized. And critically, this doesn't just affect Christians. Muslims are also being attacked, caught in the same ideological crosshairs. This deep polarization is the core issue.
So wrapping this up, what does this all mean for you listening to this? We've covered a lot of ground here, some of it quite disturbing. We've gone from the alarming statistics on rising attacks to these incredibly personal stories of denial and fear, like Romesh Baghi not being allowed to bury his own father in his ancestral village. That sticks with you. We've also looked at the systemic side, the misuse of laws, the underlying ideological shifts that Reverend Lal described so powerfully. It's really a stark reminder, isn't it, how quickly societies can change, how deeply personal freedoms can get tangled up with political ideologies, and the devastating impact that can have on minority communities, how quickly human dignity can just be eroded.
Absolutely. And thinking about everything we've discussed from these sources, it really does raise a vital and I think global question for all of us. When an ideology that explicitly advocates for treating religious minorities as second-class citizens gains significant political power and cultural acceptance, what are the long-term consequences, potentially irreversible consequences, for the very fabric, the diversity of a nation? And beyond that, what does it mean for the universal principle of religious freedom? Not just in India, but as a fundamental human standard everywhere. It's something that challenges us to think well beyond any single country's borders.
Thank you for joining us for today's podcast. I hope you've gained some valuable insights. If you're a truth seeker, yearning for divine light and ready to step out of darkness, now is your moment. The truth is that Allah is the one and only creator of the universe. He has sent over 124,000 messengers and prophets to guide humanity, starting with Adam and culminating with the final messenger, Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon them all. If you resonate with this message, you might be ready to embrace Islam. Simply recite the Shahada, the Islamic declaration of faith. For further support, feel free to join our WhatsApp group. You can send us a private message there. The link is in the video description. Don't wait until it's too late. We look forward to connecting with you soon.